Good morning. Welcome to day 5 of our 14 days of prayer. We hope this time has been anchoring and formative for you as we've come together each morning to pursue the God of peace. If this is your first time tuning in, we're so glad you're here. Today, I want to look at John 21. John 21 has to be one of my most favorite passages. I've spoken on it before, and I want to do so today because I need to hear these truths this morning, and I'm hoping that they resonate with you as well. In John 21, Peter, one of Jesus' disciples, is out on the water fishing, and Jesus appears on the beach and he calls Peter ashore. Now, Peter is beside himself at the sight of Jesus, and he jumps out of the boat and starts swimming to him. And when he gets to the beach, he sees that Jesus has prepared a meal of bread and fish for him. He's prepared breakfast. So get this. Prior to what we read in John 21, Jesus has died and he's risen again. And he has this newly resurrected body, and he comes and he makes breakfast for a fisherman. And not just any fisherman, but a fisherman who had recently denied he even knew Jesus. And they sat there together on the beach and they talked and they ate breakfast together. At some point in this meal, Jesus looks at Peter and he says, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter says, "Yes, Jesus, you know that I love you." And Jesus says, "Feed my lambs." Then he says again, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter, getting a little impatient, says, "Yes, Jesus, you know that I love you." And Jesus says, "Take care of my sheep." Then he says one more time, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter, downright frustrated at this point, says, "Yes, Jesus, you know all things. You know that I love you." And Jesus says, "Feed my sheep." Jesus says in John 6, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." See, Jesus came to feed Peter breakfast that morning because he knew Peter needed so much more than bread and fish. He knew that Peter needed Jesus himself. And so he came to be with him, to give Peter his presence, to fill him, so that Peter could go out and feed a hungry world. Notice how Jesus doesn't lead with, "Peter, feed my sheep." He says first, "Peter, do you love me?" Jesus' first priority is always intimacy. It's always relationship. And I talk about this morning because this is how I've grown to see prayer. This morning and every morning, Jesus is calling each of us ashore because his heart is intimacy with you and I. And he's prepared a meal for us, a meal of his grace and his mercy, a meal of himself, the bread of life, so that we can sit next to him and we can be filled with him and we can take him to a world so hungry for him. In this time, we have so many things to consume. How many of us have continually hit the refresh button on the coronavirus live updates today? Now, staying informed is a good thing to do, but there comes a point when I think you and I believe that eventually this information is going to satisfy something inside of us. And I've hit that refresh button 50 times today alone, and it never satisfies the way I hope it will. But Jesus says, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry." It is Jesus and Jesus alone who satisfies. As we are exploring this current sermon series, this cultural moment is asking the church to be a disruptive witness amidst the chaos and fear around us. And if you hear me say anything this morning, it's this: it is impossible for us to do so without receiving from Jesus first. So like Peter, you and I need to come ashore. We need to sit with Jesus. We need to receive fully so that we can go out and feed a world so hungry for Jesus. So this is what we do in prayer. Prayer is a pathway to growing in intimacy with Jesus. So I would encourage you to come ashore this morning. Jesus is waiting to sit with you, to satisfy you with his presence. And so I would encourage you to work through the following prayer prompts, and you can find them posted below this video as well. To begin, read John 21, 1-19, and then reflect on this truth. Jesus is calling each of us ashore to sit with him, to be fully satisfied by him, the bread of life. Are there ways you have been consuming other things in this season, hoping they will satisfy your hunger? Fear, live updates, Netflix, food, alcohol, drugs? If so, confess these things to the Lord. Then thank Jesus, praise Jesus for being the bread of life. Ask him for the grace needed to come ashore and sit with him every day. Ask him to give you all you need in this time to satisfy every bit of your hunger with his presence. And when you feel the impulse to satisfy your fear with something else, come ashore to Jesus, even for 30 seconds, and thank him for being the bread of life. And with wisdom and discernment, ask for opportunities to feed Jesus' sheep in this season. Is it a phone call, a text message, dropping off food to somebody who needs it, a word of encouragement? So thank you so much for joining us this weekend. As Pastor Tim said yesterday, we will be posting our 14 days of prayer Monday through Friday. And this weekend, we ask that you would join our online gathering Saturday at 6:30 p.m. and Sunday at 9 and 11 a.m. Although we are unable to meet in the same physical space, we are united in heart and vision as we seek to worship the one who is so worthy of our praise. See you there.